Hamilton just told Ferrari their simulator is making him slower, their front wing is outdated, and their battery is dying 200 meters before the end of every straight. Then he refused to touch the simulator before Canada. Ferrari's response? They ordered all three problems fixed at once. Then came the second problem. Ferrari's current front wing design is said to be lagging behind the teams beating them right now. But the biggest shock came from the hybrid system issue. Hamilton pointed out that the battery deployment cuts out around 200 meters before the end of the straights, costing up to 4/10 before braking even begins. 3 separate complaints, 3 technical headaches, and less than 2 weeks before Canada. What really turned heads was what Ferrari allegedly did next behind closed doors. Between May 6th and May 14th, different departments inside the factory were reportedly ordered to tackle all 3 problems at once. The deployment software crew started building fresh energy maps. The simulator correlation group began digging into why the virtual car no longer matches the real one on track. His strongest weekend of 2026 came in China, where he grabbed a podium finish without doing simulator prep beforehand because the race followed Australia back-to-back, leaving barely any time. But here is where things get interesting. His roughest qualifying performances have come after heavy simulator sessions. The pattern is starting to look impossible to brush aside. Hamilton appears to have connected the dots himself. After Miami, he openly admitted the simulator was leading him the wrong way. That leaves him spending most of practice trying to fix a balance issue that Leclerc adapts to much quicker, mainly because Leclerc's driving style naturally fits what the simulator predicts better. By the time Hamilton finally finds the correct setup window, qualifying is already slipping away. That is why his decision to completely avoid the simulator before Canada was such a huge statement inside Ferrari. A simulator only works when the virtual car actually behaves like the real one on track. The second those 2 versions stop matching, the entire setup process starts falling apart. Every adjustment made in the simulator sends the driver into race weekend with the wrong baseline already locked in. Every new Ferrari upgrade gets tested in the simulator before it ever touches the actual car. If the simulator is copying the wrong behavior, then those upgrades are being judged against bad information from the start. That is why this situation inside Ferrari is causing so much concern right now. The 11 upgrades brought to Miami were approved using a simulator Hamilton now believes it is inaccurate. That creates a chain reaction through the entire development process. And according to people following the team closely, the warning signs started showing up long before Miami ever happened. Then came Hamilton's comments after qualifying 6th in Miami. He pointed directly at a technical weakness on the car. Hamilton said Ferrari's front wing design looks completely different compared to the teams currently ahead of them. The key difference is found on the front wing end plate, the small vertical section on the outer edge of the wing. Mercedes, McLaren, and Red Bull all use a dive plane design there. A small angled surface that helps guide airflow smoothly around the front tire before dirty air can disrupt the floor and diffuser. Ferrari's approach appears noticeably different. Clean airflow around the front tires is one of the biggest secrets behind modern Formula One speed. When air moves smoothly past the tire, it feeds the underbody with cleaner airflow, and that creates stronger downforce without adding extra drag. Even tiny improvements there can mean massive gains over a full lap, especially in qualifying where every fraction matters. Right now, Ferrari's front wing end plate design stands out for the wrong reasons. Compared to the other top teams, Ferrari is still running one of the simplest layouts on the grid. The front edge of the end plate even sits further forward than the wing's leading edge itself, which is a design direction most front-running teams moved away from a while ago. Ferrari did introduce a new dive plane element as part of the 11-piece Miami upgrade package. Mercedes, McLaren, and Red Bull have all spent multiple races refining their versions, adjusting the angles, reshaping the geometry, and improving how the airflow interacts with the brake ducts and front suspension components. Ferrari, meanwhile, reportedly made one adjustment and still remains behind the curve. Simply copying another team's design is risky. A front wing that works perfectly on the Mercedes W17 could behave completely differently on the SF26, because both cars manage front tire turbulence in very different ways throughout the lap. Inside Maranello, engineers have already been briefed on the situation. A totally redesigned front wing for Canada is believed to be extremely unlikely because that level of aerodynamic rethink takes months of CFD analysis and wind tunnel testing. Barcelona is seen as the more realistic target for a bigger change. During the Miami Grand Prix, Hamilton made repeated radio calls about the same issue over and over again. No power on the straights, massive derating, more battery. In simple terms, derating in 2026 Formula One means the hybrid system starts reducing battery deployment before the straight is even finished. While rival cars continue using full electrical power, Ferrari's system appears to cut back early. According to the data being discussed, Hamilton's SF26 was losing battery support roughly 200 meters before the end of each straight. That means, for the final section of every major straight, the cars ahead are still accelerating while Ferrari starts running out of energy. Hamilton. And the performance loss is not small either. The estimated gap adds up to 3 or 4 tenths on certain straights alone. Across an entire race distance, that creates a constant disadvantage built directly into every lap. That is why Miami was such a major warning sign. Now the team is reportedly responding before Canada with changes to the energy deployment software. Engineers are aiming to improve how long the battery can sustain full power on the straights, targeting roughly 6 extra kilowatts of usable deployment. The big question is whether that increase will actually be enough to recover the huge time loss Hamilton has been talking about. Canada's long straights and speed trap data will expose the answer almost immediately once free practice begins. Keep a close eye on the casino straight data because it could reveal everything about Ferrari's situation in Canada. If the numbers improve, Ferrari's fix might actually be real. But if the same speed loss appears again, then this could end up looking more like a temporary patch than a true solution. A lot of people inside the paddock are already watching this very closely. Drop a comment below. Do you think Ferrari can realistically close the gap before Belgium? Canada was already shaping up to be one of the toughest tracks possible for Ferrari's current weaknesses. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is built around long straights, heavy braking zones, tight chicanes, and that famous hairpin section. Cars blast past 330 kilometers per hour there, and the amount of time spent flat out ranks among the highest of the entire season. That puts enormous pressure on battery deployment systems every single lap. And that is exactly why Hamilton's concerns matter so much heading into this weekend. If Ferrari's hybrid deployment was already cutting power 200 meters early in Miami, Montreal could expose the weakness even harder because there are more long straights where full battery power is critical. The casino straight alone stretches for more than a kilometer at full throttle. If the clipping point has not improved since Miami, rival cars with stronger energy deployment could easily close in and overtake before the braking zone at the end of the straight. That would turn every defensive battle into a nightmare situation for Ferrari drivers. Then comes another huge complication that could make the weekend even more chaotic. Canada 2026 is reportedly the first time this event has ever used the sprint weekend format. That changes the entire preparation process completely. Friday only includes one free practice session before sprint qualifying begins almost immediately afterward. Saturday features the sprint race followed by Grand Prix qualifying, and Sunday is the main race itself. That leaves Hamilton with just a single practice session to understand the car, one session only. If Ferrari's deployment software is still behaving incorrectly from the opening laps of practice, there will be almost no time left to fix the setup, adjust the energy maps, or recover before sprint qualifying begins. Whatever Ferrari arrives in Montreal needs to work immediately from the first minutes of FP1. Sprint weekends are brutal because there is almost no time to hide weaknesses or slowly build confidence in the setup. Problems get exposed fast, and this race could become a serious pressure test for Ferrari's entire development direction. To make things even tougher, Mercedes is bringing its biggest upgrade package of the season specifically for Canada. The expected gain is around 0.3 per lap, which is massive in modern Formula One. The package is said to include front-wing revisions, new carbon covers around the front suspension, a redesigned floor, and even a lighter gearbox setup. Mercedes held these upgrades back from Miami on purpose because they believed Montreal's long straights would reward the package far more effectively than almost any track outside Monza. McLaren is also expected to arrive with additional updates, which means Ferrari's rivals are not standing still for a second. The performance gap already looked real before Miami, but by the end of the Canada weekend, that gap could either grow dramatically or shrink in a very noticeable way if Ferrari's fixes finally work. There may not be any middle ground at a circuit that highlights nearly every weakness Ferrari has been struggling with this season. But underneath all the technical talk sits the bigger question people inside the paddock keep asking. Is Ferrari truly changing the way it develops the SF26? Or is the team simply managing the public narrative while the same internal habits stay untouched behind closed doors? That is the issue hanging over all three of Hamilton's complaints right now. At least for the moment, there are signs Ferrari is taking the concerns seriously. The team reacted to all three problems within just 10 days of Hamilton speaking publicly. That is not the kind of slow response Ferrari has often been criticized for in the past. It suggests engineers are moving quickly and listening carefully to what Hamilton is saying. And Hamilton's influence inside the team is becoming impossible to miss. He is openly pointing out Ferrari's weaknesses after qualifying sessions, sometimes in front of cameras where every rival team can hear it too. Instead of pushing back publicly, Ferrari appears to be responding directly to the feedback, which says a lot about how much weight Hamilton's voice already carries inside Maranello. Compare Ferrari's current situation to the way the team reportedly operated before Fred Vasseur arrived, and the difference starts looking huge. During his final season with Ferrari, Carlos Sainz often appeared frustrated with how disconnected the development process had become. The engineering department followed its own direction. Drivers received their setups, and there was little room to seriously challenge the thinking behind the car's design choices. Hamilton has stepped into a very different kind of environment now. This is a driver with 105 race wins, 7 world championships, and years of experience helping shape championship-winning cars through detailed technical feedback. During Mercedes' dominant years, entire development programs were adjusted around Hamilton's ability to pinpoint weaknesses inside the car. So when Hamilton says Ferrari's front-wing concept looks wrong compared to rival teams, people inside the factory listen carefully. Still, there is an important difference people should not overlook. Ferrari reacting to Hamilton's concerns does not automatically mean Ferrari fully agrees with his interpretation of the problems. Those are two separate things. Fred Vasseur described Miami as a step forward, while Hamilton openly warned that the car still has major design weaknesses compared to at least 3 rival teams. Both viewpoints can exist at the same time, and that creates either productive tension or internal conflict depending on what happens next. Canada could expose the truth very quickly. The speed trap numbers on the Casino Straight may end up telling the real story before the race even settles down. If Hamilton's SF26 still loses battery deployment at the exact same point as Miami, roughly 200 meters before the braking zone, then Ferrari's software changes likely failed to solve the core issue, and if that happens, the rest of the season could become much more difficult for the team. But if the clipping point moves later down the straight, even by around 100 meters, that would suggest something meaningful actually changed inside Maranello between May 6th and race weekend. That is why the most important number in Canada may not even be the finishing result itself. It could be the speed trap readings. Canada will not decide the championship on its own, but it could decide something even bigger for Ferrari right now. Whether this is finally becoming a team that truly listens to its drivers and changes direction when needed, or a team that manages the headlines while the same problems continue underneath the surface. Don't forget to like and subscribe to never miss the latest news.